Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, YWCA viewers. This is Kim Siciliano, CEO at the YW. This is Series 1, Episode 9 of The Butterfly Effect, sponsored by Club 1888, a YWCA volunteer program. And this is an empowerment series where volunteer hosts interview inspiring women like this young lady in our community. And today we have Julia McHale with us, and we are so happy to have her. Hi, Julia.
Hello.
Wonderful to meet you.
You as well.
And I have a little bit of a bio that Julia wrote about herself, but I'm going to start with her additional facts.
Oh.
I'm not going to start with the bio piece. She grew up with all boys, as did I. She has two families that love and support her, and she was spotlighted in Teen Magazine. And because she wrote a piece about dad bods, we may have to talk about that later.
Sure.
But you know, that stuff is the really important stuff, but here's some even more important stuff. She's currently a senior at the University at Albany studying political science and criminal justice. She's been very passionate about community service and human rights for many years. Her journey in this field began in her junior year of high school when she attended the Capital Region Institute for Human Rights Teen Symposium. At that event, she heard from many amazing individuals, and it inspired her greatly. Ever since, she has been working towards a career in human and civil rights and doing what she can along the way. Her goal is to become a human rights, civil rights lawyer to help as many people as possible exercise the rights they deserve. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've watched a little bit of them here and there, and I just want to say I feel like I do not compare to some of these amazing women as I'm just starting out on my career, my path and everything. And there are these amazing people who have accomplished such great things. So I'm really honored to be here.
Wonderful. And you know, every woman that we've spoken with is on a different journey. So everyone has an amazing story to share. So we are happy to have you and ask you these questions and see what your answers are. So we'll get right down to the nitty gritty. Tell us a bit about yourself. You shared your bio, but who are you? Like, who is Julia McHale?
Well, I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend. I grew up with three brothers, as you said, and it was quite the journey growing up like that. And I did have a split family, but, you know, I was very thankful along the way to, you know, gain family members. I have, you know, two dads and two moms, basically, and just so many supporting individuals in my family. And, you know, they've supported me every single step of the way on my path, you know, in all my schooling and all my extracurriculars and everything. So right now I'm in my senior year of college and hoping to, you know, become a lawyer one day. I am pre-law and, you know, on the path to helping people exercise their rights.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. So who inspired you the most, or if there's a number of people, when you were young?
Oh, there's so many, but, you know, definitely my parents and my step-parents. Just seeing how accomplished they've been in their lives and their careers have inspired me and just shown me that, like, it is possible to do numerous things along the way, you know, raise a family and have an amazing career and still be, you know, advancing your career while raising a family at the same time, which is not an easy thing to do. But besides family inspiration, for me, it feels a little cliche to say this, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been a huge inspiration to me. Last year, I took a Women in the Law class, and when I learned about her and her story, it was just such an inspiration. It made me want to become a lawyer even more. The way that she persevered through all the obstacles that she faced and her health and just being a woman in the law, it was just amazing. She really paved the way for women, especially in the field of law, and the way that she did it through health struggles and family struggles and everything. But obviously my parents are a big inspiration as well. They're all incredible human beings, all four of them. And those are definitely some people who've inspired me.
Wonderful. Thank you. So are you working now? Do you have a job, like a side gig that you're doing? And what is it? And do you like it? And tell us a little bit about that.
So I am working. I actually interned for my dad's company, Pursuit. They are a lending company. And right now I am working on giving some grants and small business loans to mostly companies in New York City that have been kind of struggling with everything going on in the pandemic. And while it's not exactly the field that I'm hoping to go into, it still feels like really great work to do, getting people the money to, help their businesses in such a tough time. So I really am enjoying doing that work as well.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the pandemic and COVID. I have a son who graduated during the pandemic and is now in college virtually. But I guess my question is, how are you handling that? Is SUNY Albany virtual? What are you on campus? And how has that affected your college career?
Right. So you can kind of choose whether or not you want to be, on campus partially or at home. But I chose to just stay at home, stay safe. But I still am in the Albany area. So still seeing some friends safely, of course. We all, have the pooled testing that we're in every single week, and we have our little social bubble. So we're still able to gather, despite everything that's going on. But I think that schools have been handling it very well, especially now we're basically a year into it. We've adjusted, we've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's basically how we have to handle it, is just learning from it as it goes.
Great, thank you. So how does your identity as a woman play a role in the line of work you want to go into? So you want to be a lawyer. So how does being a woman affect that?
Right. So it kind of is one of those careers where historically it wasn't for women, and it wasn't, intended that women were going to be in that career field. So I'm sure there are still some obstacles that I'm going to be facing along the way as a woman in that field. Like I said, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was one of the only women in her class, I believe, and it was really tough for her to even get a job. She was one of the top in her class, and at the end of the day, she had professors who were fighting just to get her a job, even though she was an incredible human being. So I'm sure that wasn't that long ago, and that things like that are going to happen along the way. And, women in every field are undermined for just being a woman. So I'm sure that I'm going to have to face those obstacles, but, there's nothing that women can't do. So I'm not afraid of it.
Go women. Wonderful. So, now this question, it says, based on what you know now, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self? Now, we're not going to do that, but what advice do you give young girls, say in elementary school, knowing the chart and the journey that you've kind of put in place for yourself? What do you say to the young girls who are coming up in, 5th, 6th, 7th grade?
There is absolutely nothing that you cannot do if you put your mind to it. Seriously, my motto is like, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you're willing to do something and you want to get there, then you're going to get there. You just have to have the passion for it and the drive. And, I faced multiple obstacles along the way in my life, but I've still been able to accomplish, my goals and what I want to do. And, been going through school and, living in a pandemic, obviously, like, I didn't think that I would still be able to be applying to law school and be going to places where I want to go. But I have that drive and that passion. And I think that if anybody does, then you're going to be able to do what you want to do.
And what is the biggest piece of advice you give to people who are going to college or who want to go to college? What is something you're like, I never knew that. I had no idea that would be important in college, but now I get it.
Right. That's definitely a tough one. But, another silly little motto that I live by is like, everything happens for a reason. So, if, you get a bad grade along the way, or there is a professor that doesn't really understand you or your writing, it's okay, because you are where you're meant to be, and anything that's going to happen is, still going to work out, and you're meant to go on that path somehow, some way.
Stellar answer. Love it. Love it. Okay, cool. And what do you want other women to know? What should they know about life in general and how you overcome obstacles or challenges?
Right. Well, I would say, as long as you're being passionate about what you're doing, and you know that, you can accomplish what you want to do, then you're going to get there. And, it might not be easy as a woman, as a person of color, and any of those intersections that we're faced with every single day. But, if you have that drive and that motive to get done what you need to get done, then you're going to, no matter who you are, what your identity is, you're going to be able to do what you need to do.
Great. So here's the fun one. What is the interview question that nobody has ever asked you before? And what would your response be?
Oh, an interview question I've never been asked. Well, I feel like I've never really been asked about my experiences as a woman and how that affects me in certain jobs, or how that's gonna affect me, and like how can we, adjust this or this, job for a woman. And my answer would definitely be, not to treat us differently necessarily, but to understand that there are differences between men and women and people of all other identities. So, just listen to people and understand that their experiences may be different, and that you might need to cater to them a little bit differently than you would somebody else.
Now, why did you choose law? Like, where
Law.
did that passion come from? Do you like to argue a lot? Because I like to argue a lot. My husband always says, you should have been a lawyer. So why did you choose that career path?
Well, growing up with three brothers, I did argue quite a bit. And my younger brother, Lucas, we actually thought he was going to be the lawyer because he is constantly, saying that he's right about every single thing, and he will fight to the death to prove that he is right, even though he is not. But the reason that I want to go into law, I've been really passionate about it for quite some time. And it kind of really started in my junior year of high school, when all the school shootings were happening. And there was one that happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. And that was the one that kind of, jump started my path towards wanting to give back to people, and, proving that we deserve these human rights. And I thought that, it was ridiculous for me as a student to be worried about going to school every single day in a first world country like America. And I didn't want any kid after me to have to feel the same way. So I was like, if I can do something about this, then, maybe I'm meant to do this. So, when I attended the Human Rights Symposium, and I learned from those individuals who were actually doing things that I wanted to do, I realized that it was possible, and that there was a way that I could, fuel my anger about these situations about what's wrong in the world into something that is good and actually make change.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So what is unique about you, or a special talent you have, or something that really excites you in your life? You can answer all three of those if you want. But, if you've got a couple of things, great, share. Love to hear it.
Something unique about me. Well, I know Kendra wanted me to talk a little bit about my Crohn's disease. So that is definitely something that's unique about me. As a person with health problems, I'm not unique there. Everybody's got health issues, but how they deal with them and how it affects them are totally different. And, I've always worried that it's going to set me back. Living with it for the past 4 years, I've had to persevere through a lot of tough times. And, some people are understanding of it and some people aren't. And, I worry about how it'll affect my career one day, especially with, the law. It can be time sensitive, and, you're dealing with really important matters. And some days my body chooses, it just can't function that day. So, I'm choosing a career where I'm going to have to power through that. And I'm sure that I'm going to face difficulties along the way, but I think that my passions will speak for themselves. So when it comes to advancing my career, I don't believe that that's going to set me back, and I definitely won't let it.
Well, so you said there are some people who don't understand it. So while you have this platform, what is Crohn's disease?
Yeah, sure. So it is IBD. It's an autoimmune disease. Like I said, some days my body just doesn't want to function. It definitely affects every single person differently, but it's basically like your body's attacking itself, and it doesn't want to let you live some days. And any health problem, people aren't always going to know everything about it, but if they're willing to learn, then that's probably the most important thing. It's just to listen to people and to listen to their struggles, and how they are overcoming that.
So Crohn's really deals with having issues with your intestines, right?
Mhm.
Because it's what you eat and how you eat, and certain things you can't eat and certain things you can eat. And so you have to be really careful. And on certain days, your body reacts differently to different foods, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
But is that kind of a good synopsis of how you kind of have to monitor yourself more than somebody else who doesn't have Crohn's disease?
Right, absolutely. And before the pandemic, my immune system is shut down completely from the Crohn's, and I've had to build it back up numerous times. And how the common cold affects one person doesn't affect me. I might be fighting it for 2-3 weeks. So I was obviously nervous when all of this was happening, but I've definitely learned how to keep myself safe and what to do in an unprecedented situation in my life. So it definitely was tough, but I think that people are becoming more understanding. Definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. How about talk a little bit about some of the advice that you've been given so far in your life that has led you to be inspired or to take on a challenge. Talk a little bit about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, for me, like in my schooling and at the University of Albany, I wouldn't say necessarily advice, but just the things that I've been learning about and just like opening my brain to everything in the world that I was kind of sheltered with, like moving from Clifton Park to Albany, it's a completely different world and things that I wasn't experiencing in Clifton Park that, I'm experiencing here, and just understanding that like everybody's life is different, and you might be born and be disadvantaged from the moment that you're born, and as a white person, as a woman, everybody has different experiences, and it's important to think about that. Even in somebody's day-to-day life, you don't know what they're going through and how that's affecting them. And that's kind of why I am so passionate about, fighting for racial justice and, LGBTQ plus rights and just everything that I'm hoping to do for my career. It's because, you don't know, the disadvantages that that person has been dealing with, since the day that they were born.
Great, great. And then last question, and we can talk a little bit further afterwards, but you had to pick one person, so I'm going to really hold you to this, and I don't know what you're going to say, but like a mentor, who do you think has been your biggest and best mentor throughout your life so far to this point? It could be anybody. It could be somebody that's famous. It could be an agency or an organization that you've seen in action through your college career. It could be a single person. So
I feel like I would have to say my mom for that. She has been my biggest advocate, biggest inspiration, everything in my entire life. And, when I was dealing with my health struggles, she was the one who was advocating for me and was actually the one that solved it all and figured out, what was going on with me. And if it wasn't for her, I could have been suffering for many more years. And every single thing I do and, every piece of good news I get, my mom is the first person that I want to run to and tell her everything about it. And just seeing how she worked as a single mother for some time, and she was a nurse. Nurses do not work the best hours. She was sometimes, working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., then coming and having to get us on the bus to school and then going to sleep for the rest of the day. So I can't imagine, the struggles that she's faced. And she was actually in nursing school when she was pregnant with me. So you have to be some type of strong person to be going to nursing school while being pregnant. So I just know that she has come so far, and she's such an inspiration to me and what she's been able to accomplish in her life and her career, and just being there for me every step of the way. She truly is the best mentor that I could have asked for.
a shout out to the moms. MOM. They come in all shapes and sizes, so we want to make sure we give them props. So wonderful answer. So is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? You have like this open platform right now. So do you have anything else that we didn't talk about that you think, hey, I want to make sure I get this out there?
I would say to hopefully pay attention to me and my journey and follow along, because, in the next 5 years, hopefully I'm going to be out there, fighting for people's human rights. And I want to start in the United States and here, but hopefully one day I'm going to be helping people worldwide. Women in some countries have significantly less rights than we do here in America. So, anyone that can support me in my journey along the way and just follow along and advocate, that's really all you can do. And, even as simple as sharing a post just to educate people on what's going on in the world can speak numbers to somebody that, has no clue about, a certain situation. And just educating people, following along on the journey, and advocating as best as you can, because, it's important too.
Wonderful. So you heard it here first on the Butterfly Effect that we are to be following Julia in the next 5 years, because she might be the next RBG. There it is. It's out there. It's been spoken. So we have just had a wonderful time. And Julia, I want to thank you for your wisdom and your passion and the love that I hear in your voice for the work that you want to do. And I think, unless you have anything, if you want to give a bye to everybody. I think we're done, but Butterfly Effects, session episode 9 has been a wonderful opportunity to speak to this up and coming, soon to be lawyer, Julia McHale.
I sure hope so. So thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing, and I'm glad that I was able to talk about everything that I was passionate about today.
Great.